there's no transparency in our industry. So you just walk into a coffee shop as a tourist or as a resident of the Netherlands, and you just figure out what you wanna smoke and what the menu is, and you don't know anything before you go into the shop. And we saw it as a really big problem, and not only we, but also a lot of other people.
Dutch Courage. Greenmeister is a Netherlands-based cannabis coffee shop finder app with designs on growing across Europe as recreational cannabis edges towards legalisation and broader decriminalisation. We chat with founder and CEO Onnick Jessayan about the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. Hello, welcome to the Lobsterpot. I'm Dave Barton, joined by my colleague Jamie Bonthron. Say hello, Jamie.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right. I think I'm all right. What is it? Wednesday? Yeah,
it is.
That'll do. Wednesday all day. And today we are joined by Onnick. I'm going to say Jessayan.
Onnick Jessayan.
Onnick Jessayan from a company called Greenmeister. Now, tell us all about yourself and Greenmeister and what you're doing, because it's kind of exciting. And we met in London a little while ago. But yeah, what you're doing is pretty interesting, and there's lots of scope, I think, for what you're doing. So tell us more.
Yeah, definitely. So we met in London. That was quite a fun night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of was. I remember you said, I was so hot that I probably turned you bisexual, but, I don't know if that still holds in the cold light of day.
Did I say that? Okay, yeah.
Probably. But, I'll take that. No, we can edit that now. We can keep that in. We'll see. See you. No, I'm kidding. But no, it was a fun night, actually. It was
a fun night, man. It definitely was. With a great view, and I really loved it.
It was the recreational cannabis report, wasn't it?
Yeah,
for
it was.
Amway, the launch of that, and that was cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was there I think for less than 24 hours. So I went to the conference and then flew back to Amsterdam. But it was lovely. It was so nice to meet people in the industry. You see, when we started with Greenmeister, there's still a lot of gray area. But it's fun to see when you're going to London or to Los Angeles that there's this really serious going on, and that more white collar people are evolving in the industry as well. So I think that's good, and London was an example of that for me.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because London is still, the UK is still very much medical cannabis, but again, people are, industry, like you say, the event was held at a lawyer's office who kind of helped with the report. And so it just shows, like you say, people are taking it very seriously from a kind of legal and corporate perspective too. And in markets like the UK, where there are, or across Europe, where there's a kind of patchwork of different kinds of regulations, aren't there? So, but yeah, so Greenmeister, you tell me more about, it's an app, is that right?
Yeah, so the thing is, here in the Netherlands, we're of course famous for our coffee shops. We got like millions of people coming every year to the capital.
But I've never had a coffee in any of them, which
kind of strange. Yeah, when I first talking about our business in America, they didn't understand coffee shops. They're like, what? And then I figured out they call it dispensaries over there.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was an eye opener for me.
It's not a Starbucks, is it? That's the thing.
No, exactly. First I thought, oh, cool, to show you like coffee, and I was like, no. But yeah, there's a lot of coffee shops here in the Netherlands, more than or around 600. Mm-hmm. And what we figured is that there's not like one. There's no transparency in our industry, so you just walk into a coffee shop as a tourist or as a resident of the Netherlands, and you just figure out what you wanna smoke and what the menu is, and you don't know anything before you go into the shop. And we saw it as a really big problem, and not only we, but also a lot of other people. So we started this thing called Greenmeister, and where just random people who go to coffee shops can add things to the menu, just like Wikipedia. You just contribute to the platform to make it a bit better and help other people. So now we have like a complete coffee shop directory, that a lot of people are using right now.
And is it for the whole of the Netherlands right now? You've got pretty much the whole country.
Yeah.
Wow.
So right now it's for the whole of the Netherlands. We've listed like 99% of all the shops in Holland. But in the future, we're going to expand to the rest of Europe. Germany is a market that we're really interested in, and are taking action to expand there. But there's also other countries who are really, really on the better side of the law thing, because it's still weird. Like Holland, it's like legal, but it's also not legal, and that makes also very difficult for people to do business in this industry. Yeah.
I mean, people assume it's completely legal in the Netherlands, but that's not necessarily the case, is it? Could you clear that up? How is it legal? And you can buy it, you can consume it.
Yeah,
but it's
it's really strange. I don't know the exact translation for it, but it's called gedoogbeleid. That means that by law it's still legal. Like weed is still legal. It's still drugs, and drugs is illegal in Holland. But gedoogbeleid means that you can buy, and it's like this. The government is like, okay, we know it's still illegal, but we're not going to charge. We're going to not do anything. But we have some rules. Some of these rules are, as a consumer, you cannot buy more than 5 grams per person. Also, the shop is not allowed. I think it's like 500 grams, like half a kilo, to have stored in the shop at all times. So yeah, the coffee shop is constantly working with the inventory to keep it uptight. The coffee shop is officially not allowed to buy weed. So that's a strange thing. They can sell it, and it doesn't matter. That's the legal part. But
are they allowed to grow it?
You can in Holland you can grow for like 5 plants, and that's still legal. But
it won't stock a dispensary, will it? 5 plants.
Well, the fun thing also is you can't have more weed in your possession than 5 grams.
Right.
You can grow 5 plants in your backyard as a consumer, and nothing will happen. I think it's like 3 or 5 plants, something like that. The fun thing is when you grow 3 or 5 plants and you take the buds off, you have more than 5 grams. So as long as it is on the plant, it's legal. Yeah. But as soon as you cut it off, it becomes illegal. So it's super strange.
Yeah. I mean, it's by no means a unique situation. The kind of duplicity of messy. Yeah. I like messy.
Yeah.
Messy's good.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of improvement that can be made. When you think about it, there's also a real good progress about the whole stigma around cannabis. In the past, you saw that it was not like, they still think it's a bad thing to do. But now it becomes much more like drinking a glass of wine. And I think that is the way to see it as well.
Yeah. Does it feel like that generally in the Netherlands? Like people are a lot more, compared to, here in the UK in particular, it's like, if you're going to have that, be very, go around there sort of thing, or be very, but in Netherlands, it's a lot more open. People are a lot more, this is fine. People do it, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's up in the open, it should be type thing.
Exactly. It's still like if somebody is smoking a joint in the street, people are like, I smell weed.
Yes.
But it's not like, oh, I smell weed, it's bad. It's just like, that's funny. But it's not like, it become much more normal. And especially in Amsterdam, is just part of the culture.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's it. My experience of sort of going to coffee shops in Amsterdam is, again, I remember seeing people from all walks of life there, kind of young, old, black, white, and it was kind of like there was no definitive consumer or demographic. It was kind of everyone, which was brilliant. Which again made me think, there's a real sweet, just queuing up, and I think it was a Friday night. It was like, well, everyone's come in to buy their supplies for the weekend, and that's cool. It felt very I don't know why it was so kind of eye-opening, but it made me just think, this is like going to we have the off license in the UK, like where you go and buy your booze. It's like, you go and get a few cans for a Friday night or whatever. And it was the same deal, but with cannabis. And it was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's not only the people you think that smoke weed, like the super stoners who. No, it's just when you just like gonna stand in front of a coffee shop and just see who's coming in. It's like lawyers, it's older people, especially what you see in the US. It's a lot of housewives. Like they see it as a new thing of drinking a glass of wine. They just smoke a blunt and have a good time. I think I don't know, I'm not like a health expert, but I think it's much better for you than drink alcohol, to be honest.
I think from a kind of, if you're trying not to, alcohol or put on weight, so it's a kind of option for that. But then I always think the offset as well. If you get the munchies, then you're just going to eat any old stuff anyway. So I don't know. But no, I've heard that there's everyone says it's the whole soccer mum demographic, whatever that is supposed to mean.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's just sort of saying if it sort of hits that demographic, it's kind of socially acceptable because that sort of female kind of 35 to 45 demographic, if they can accept it, becomes almost like mainstream sort of thing. I think that's the kind of, but again,
I think that's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because when their children are gonna smoke, it's not like, oh no, you can do that. It's just like, okay, it's okay, but just relax with it and don't overuse it. I think that's not good. Not with weed, not with alcohol, not with food. You just do it.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it, about kind of responsible usage or whatever, isn't it? The whole idea of, kids who are very kind of, parents like, don't drink, ever drink, as soon as they hit 15 and they can grab hold of a bottle of something, they're going to go crazy and with no kind of thing. And I guess it's the same with weed. It's like, if it's always been a hush huff, don't use it, it's drugs, don't get involved. And as soon as they, someone says, hey, do you want some? They'll be like, yeah, I'll have it all and go crazy. And it's, it happens, doesn't it? It's, but no, when it's embedded in kind of culture and it feels more accepted socially, it becomes a lot more, there's a culture around it. There's people have consumption kind of rituals or traditions around it. We do it at this time or on this kind of occasion. It's not just like, I'm going to wake up in the morning and, go crazy and then go back to sleep. But I guess some people do, but that's on them. That's irresponsible usage. But there we go. It's but again, when you start to see, everyone always associates the Netherlands with that sort of liberal attitude towards it, and I think it's. Yeah. But what's always surprising for me is the fact that kind of Germany's going all out on recreation. That must present a huge opportunity for you. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but as soon as what's the timeline there? Because they have I don't know. I think that's the big question, isn't it? The timeline.
They're talking about 2024 at this point, aren't they? That's the suggested bit to have everything through and finished, and because they've got to draft frameworks, then they have to get them passed at a national level, then at a local level. There's a huge amount that goes into it. It's not just a litigious country. It's never just going to like make it happen like that. But I think it's 2024, isn't it, Onnick? If that's right.
Yeah, that's also the latest things I've heard. There's also a lot of things involving here in the Netherlands where they want to make it legal. They want to grow like state weed, like state-owned cannabis. It's a really difficult system, and it's already, they make it like so fucking difficult. That's the whole point. They don't like to okay, fuck it, let's legalize it, whatever. Yeah. They're gonna make systems, and all the systems they've got like 2 years of delays now already, and most of the people don't understand actually what's going on right now. They make it so difficult, and I think that's something that doesn't work for the industry.
Is that where they're handing out? Is it like 13 licenses and they can only grow certain kinds? Is that right?
It's 10 licenses.
10.
Well, this is the kind of dispensary lottery or something, isn't it?
Yeah, but they call it like an experiment, but it's like delayed 2 years already. It's so like, it's almost, a government is always a thing that it's not as smooth as it can be. But yeah. I like how this with alcohol right now, because you can like buy it at like a liquor store and they check your credit, or if you're 18, whatever. They put warnings on it as well, like don't drink too much, don't drink when you drive, all that kind of stuff. And I really think that prevention is also neat with cannabis. But yeah, just don't make it so difficult. Is what I want to say to the government.
It's about creating a culture where it's, as you both spoken about, making people responsible for their own usage and helping that through preventative things and setting it up in a way that already is reasonably effective. In the case of alcohol, in the way it's controlled is reasonably effective. You would think you could mirror that, really.
Yeah, and that's also what we do with Greenmeister, because we have so much visitors and we want to, we see ourselves as like an example for people, and because we have so much users and so much people who use our platform, we're gonna put information on our platform as well, just to prevent overuse of cannabis. And if people like really need help or something, we want to give them the right links. So we have like I think we're responsible for that kind of things. Absolutely. It's not something that we have to do, but we want to do it as a company.
I mean, this is the whole, you have to take a stance on it somehow if you're going to be involved in the cannabis industry. I always say this, it feels like you have to have an angle, you have to have a position, you have to kind of do your kind of bit for advocacy in some ways, whatever that might be. And I think that's one of the key arguments for legalization, isn't it? It's the whole idea that, well, if it's legal, then we can give people actual advice around it. And, that can be kind of government sanctioned, and we can kind of make sure that the stuff that's sold in shops has a kind of comes from a reputable source. It's not going to be tampered with. It's not going to, well, again, this is the argument. Whether it's happens in practice is another thing. But again, those are just some of the reasons for kind of a recreational work, aren't they? That whole idea of there can be that level of government control, which again makes it safe to consume, or safer.
And it creates an environment, doesn't it? Again, it's building on that responsible use. It's normalizing it, and it's helping people who do struggle with it. There's a lot of different reasons people struggle with drug use, whether that's alcohol or kind of what people normally refer to as drugs. But what you need to do is you need to create systems and frameworks that really actually assist people who are struggling with those things. And if it's out in the light and it's not hush hush in a corner, or someone's doing it in the privacy of their own home because they feel conscious of it or worried about what it says about them, then they're in a far better position to find help and make kind of positive change. That should be the goal for everyone, I think.
That's right. Well, yeah. Did you see the news in British Columbia in Canada, where they're making a load of different drugs legal for like a 3-year period, or at least decriminalisation?
I saw something about that. Yeah, and again, also in Thailand they're handing out marijuana right now. The government's handing out million marijuana plants or something, I read, and I was like, what? There was a country that had like death sentences on cannabis like 5 years ago.
Actually, we briefly spoke. We're hoping to get someone from Thailand on the podcast. We made a quick chat with her the other day to find out about what's happening on the ground there. And again, it's like been a long time coming, but change is finally here. But it's not necessarily the change that everyone thinks. So again, be interesting to dive into that a bit more. But again, like you say, there are so many kind of government. So many different governments have different levels of involvement or support, and it's just crazy that. But again, I suppose that's the whole thing. Even in a country that like the US, where you're still not legal federally, it just shows that even in one country they can still be. I mean, it's a big country. It's as big as the EU, really. But again, essentially, the whole just shows how sort of fragmented things can be, and how change is still difficult. Culturally and from a legal perspective. But I have good hopes for the future. I really think in a couple of years, if you see the growth that's already been done in like 5 years, or also the stigma, I see it really positive for the future. I mean, for you, like you say, Germany's going to be a big market for you to kind of open up. And I guess, there isn't the sort of dispensary culture in the same way, I guess. But where else presents opportunities, do you think, in Europe for for Greenmeister, or for just the sort of or what you're doing generally? I mean,
yeah. Well, there's Malta. You also see a lot of like CBD stores in Greece, which also helps with the whole stigma again. So I think because Germany and France are like the two biggest countries of the EU, and I hope Germany is going to set an example that, hey, this is working for us. It's actually good. People are okay. It's not that scary that most people probably think in politics. And I think it will be like an oil. I think it will.
Yeah, it'll sort of filter into other surrounding countries in the in the same way.
So I have good hopes with Germany as a leading example, and just we'll see. We'll keep our eyes and ears open, and every country this is gonna legalize, we'll be active in that country. Yeah.
I mean, you were speaking earlier. You mentioned you went to the US recently, and again, when I've spoken to people who are sort of out in California, and the whole idea of, we can go into a dispensary and just buy it, that sort of culture here in the UK still feels a long way off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess
that's coming as well eventually.
I would hope so, and I think so. And I mean, the whole the whole medical cannabis thing, and the idea of it's almost kind of like, if that can get accepted by doctors as a kind of, there are positive benefits for cannabis use, it almost becomes, well, if it's okay with doctors, then it's the toughest nut to crack. Maybe, potentially. I mean, that's just my speculation, but yeah, I think it certainly paves the way. Has there ever been a kind of medical market specifically in the Netherlands? I mean, that kind of shows my naivety, but
there's like medical where consumers can buy it from a medical point of view, but it's like super available just to buy cannabis. So and you see in other countries that they use a medical license as a way to buy cannabis, but it's not necessary. It's not a necessity here. So.
And do you feel like the coffee shop owners, or what we call bud tenders, maybe in the US, are they particularly knowledgeable? I mean, if you're kind of walking in to...
the cool thing is, like, everybody in the coffee shop culture, everybody I met, like literally every bud tender I met in the coffee shop, they're so passionate about the product. They can tell you a lot. They can advise really good, because their passion is always also in cannabis. So for them, it's nice to advise people, to talk about it, to share knowledge. I think that's really cool.
And do you actually have do they kind of participate in the kind of the sort of the crowdsourcing information that you kind of put out there, or via Greenmeister? Is that
what do you mean by that?
Do you have any bud tenders kind of actively sort of talking about products and talking about what's on offer at different coffee shops and things like that? Are they part of the community that you're fostering?
Yeah, it's funny that what you say, because we're now experiencing a beta version on Greenmeister where you can have communities. It's just like a Slack channel where you just can open your own community as a random guy. If you're into dApps, you can open your own dApp community and just share your knowledge with people who are also interested in dApps.
And that's all curated through the app, is it?
Exactly, and you can just moderate it as an enthusiast. So yeah, we're in a beta version of that right now, but we see it also as a possibility to share really valuable information to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are coming and that are super cool. Eventually, our main goal is to grow in Europe, and eventually be the biggest delivery platform in cannabis in Europe.
So you're looking at sort of sites are firmly on delivery and being able to facilitate that.
Yeah, and we don't want to. We just want to be the platform, not we don't want to do the delivery itself. Just the platform. And you look, takeaway is also a Dutch start as a Dutch startup. I think Greenmeister can be a very good second takeaway.com, but for
Yeah.
cannabis.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, do you kind of look to the US and sort of looking at what they've achieved there in, say, California and sort of saying, oh, we could replicate that here? Or do you think it's a very different model over there to what?
No. Yeah, we look at that. And yeah, there are some examples in the US with like the same business model basically we have.
Mhm.
And we have a close look at those features that they provide.
Yeah.
Just look at it and think, okay, this might be a cool addition for Greenmeister, or we make our own version of particular things.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to kind of understand what people are looking for. I mean, do you have quite active feedback from the community you've already established? And are they quite active in talking about, oh, we would love to see this feature. We'd love to see a kind of, spotlight on this type of strain or something like that. Do you have kind of things like that at the moment? Or
Yeah, we have it. And what I also really like is that the idea that we're working on right now is when you eventually have bought cannabis somewhere, you want to smoke it on a nice place or a nice spot. And there is a lot of people that are providing cool smoke spots throughout the Netherlands. I see that more happening on our platform, and we really want to give that a place as well where people can share their spots. And
yeah, and you know what? I think that's kind of overlooked, to be honest, that side of things, because again, it's all very much about where do you find it, where can we buy it, what have you got available, what what's legal, what isn't, what all of those concerns. And then when you actually have it, and it's kind of like, well, where can we enjoy it? Because again, in Barcelona, that whole kind of social club scene, it's I remember going, as I sort of said earlier, we were talking, and it was kind of like, you kind of go through the process of like, getting your ID and paying your 20 euros to get in and blah, blah, blah. And then you go behind the screen and it's just like a sort of shitty student cafe type thing. That was just my experience. But again, you kind of sit around the table and, it's a cool environment, it's relaxed. But again, it just feels like this is not, what I want is a beanbag and a kind of, place to feel like I could just like, do you know what I mean? And I guess that's, that whole where can you enjoy it and what's the environment like and how.
I've been there at the social clubs in Barcelona. It was for me as a Dutch guy who just you can just walk in any coffee shop you want and hang out and buy something. It was a really fun experience to see how social clubs works in Barcelona, and like the mystery around it, and you really like going to a secret handshake club, like okay, you can come in.
I kind of dug that for a bit and then kind of get there, and the sort of end result was slightly underwhelming. Maybe that was just where I went. I didn't go to one of the bigger ones, or it was kind of like I just kind of looked online, so I could have done with something like Greenmeister, to be honest. Like, where's a good place to go? I'm just kind of looking at like Google Maps and there's one near the hotel, maybe I'll try that side of thing,
So that is something that we're looking into currently, because when you also like the smoke, the social clubs in Barcelona, it's also super weird by law, where it's like allowed, but you have like police raids in it, and it's kind of strange. And we're thinking about also adding social clubs in the platform, but we have to dig in that more just to see what's legal, and we don't want to have trouble.
And again, it's navigating the different cultural things and the different legal things if you're kind of expanding into different countries as well, isn't it? It's like, well, and I guess people need guidance on that. So again, that's an opportunity to sort of say, okay, here's your guide to Barcelona. What you can do, what you can't do, what's okay, what isn't, type thing. And someone kind of, because you do like paid endorsements for what is it? Well, they can be like dispensaries can kind of sort of soup up their profile or something on Greenmeister and be saying, is that right? It's one of the monetization things you've got going on.
Well, we have like around 600 coffee shop listed on Greenmeister, and it mostly work where consumers add information to the platform. It's like user-generated content. We started with that model only, and we didn't monetize it at all. But we have to have a shop running over here and pay people and pay for all the server use we have, because it's very valuable to get everything up and running. So we have to come up with a monetization thing. We have a couple. We have our own merchandise, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, I remember actually when I met, we had the Greenmeister t-shirt and everyone was kind of like, oh, that's a pretty cool. What brand is that? And it's like, oh, Green, it's my brand. And you're like...
Right? Everybody in London was in a suit and I was just in my Greenmeister shirt. So funny.
Yeah. That's it. But no, so you're kind of got some merch as well, haven't you? What are you selling? Is it t-shirts, sweatshirts, the whole thing, or are you kind of doing other
everything? We have t-shirts, we have hoodies, we have crew necks, we have tracksuits. Over here we just
hello.
Have a rug.
A Jaguar head rug. Is that the mascot? Oh, I see. He's got a little something to smoke there. That's cool.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we're experimenting with a lot of things, and I really like it because people get like their Greenmeister package. Yeah. In the box, it's first of all, it's a nice box just to have in your room and collect things in it.
Yeah.
But we like to over deliver. So our shirts are like I think $50 each. Our t-shirts, and you just expect the t-shirt, right? But it also comes in a really nice box. And also we have a thank you card that you can roll up to like a do-it-yourself rolling stand. Okay. And we also put in like 3 Greenmeister stickers, and one from the rug. And we put in like 2 rolling paper sets as well with collaboration with Mascotte. So we really like people to buy it. We don't tell it everything, all the extras, and open it and like, whoa, cool stickers, whoa, cool thank you card, whoa, cool paper, rolling paper.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's you're building a brand, which is really, really cool. Because again, when you look at European cannabis brands, I mean, in the US, you've got cookies through to all kinds of different that are doing things like that. And I guess when you kind of look to Europe, there are a lot fewer. But so there's a real kind of opportunity to get that kind of brand loyalty and have the authentic beginning, servicing the coffee shop culture in the Netherlands. And if you can build that brand out to the rest of Europe,
Yeah, and I think a good example is Bulldog. Everybody knows the Bulldog logo in the whole world. And Cookies is doing an amazing thing where they really understand the culture and really dig into that. So those 2 companies are doing really good. And it's an example for Greenmeister.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What other brands are sort of big? I mean, are there any others in Europe that are kind of, you see sort of coming through that are kind of not necessarily doing exactly the same things as you, but they're kind of building a brand in the same way?
Yeah, we have some products like rolling papers. Some companies are really doing cool things, but also like the cool student glasses. The gravity bongs. Okay. Also really cool. But like everybody knows the Bulldog. Also, if you don't smoke, and I think that's a really cool thing. I want everybody to know Greenmeister, even though you don't smoke weed. Yeah.
It's like, I've got Nike shoes and Nike sweatshirt. Do I get near a gym? Well, occasionally, but it is the kind of cachet.
Yeah. Exactly.
the cachet with that brand. And again, that's a really powerful thing I've always thought from a marketing perspective, that, you don't have to be selling product to be selling a brand. If you've got that kind of rooted in something really authentic, and you can kind of scale it out as you're doing into kind of merchandise and accessories or something like that, then again, that gives you ample opportunity to get that recognition when you do enter kind of new markets officially, which is a cool thing. Actually, have you heard of Hoy, the Danish? They're based in the UK, but the founder's Danish.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've hung out with him with the cool pipes.
Yeah. We're going to chat with them actually very soon. So again, again, talking about sort of brands coming out of Europe, I thought they're another really cool one. But again, they're making.
I saw their exposition at Barcelona.
Yeah,
and thought their product looks really stylish and cool, and I was like, yeah, this is a good example of something I want to endorse on Greenmeister. And I maybe had a small chat with him, I don't know. And then I was in London and I saw him again, and we chatted for a while. It was really nice.
Yeah, no, they seem to be. Again, they're doing something very different to what you're doing, but again, that power of brand and the whole sort of, let's say, theatre around what you're doing, the packaging, the kind of messaging, and the kind of, this is what we're going to do, or, you're addressing the consumer in different ways and personalizing that experience. I mean, I think that's something not to be overlooked in any capacity, but I think there's definitely room to bring, everyone in different aspects of like marketing talks about customer experience and service, and it's like, yada, yada. But actually, when you think about doing that in a way, in a market that is, in an industry that is quite fragmented in the way that cannabis is, I guess it's even more important to have that relationship and build that community as you're doing, which is really, really cool. So no, cool. We're kind of wrapping things up a little bit, but any more questions from you, Jamie, or anything else from you, Onnick, at the minute?
Fire away.
I'm just really keen on the whole premise of like the app as it started. I know you're growing out. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with brand, but for me, it's the same. It's not just walking into a coffee shop. I wouldn't necessarily call it anxiety, but if you're heading in somewhere that you don't know what they sell, you don't know how much it costs, you don't know how good it is, I think before you get in there, just having anything to guide you makes a huge difference, especially as a tourist. If you're going to the Netherlands and you're walking into a coffee shop, it just kind of prepares you and just gives you a little bit more comfort before you go in, and you can kind of know what to expect and what to ask for and how to get the most out of the experience. Because for a lot of people who go to coffee shops, it's an experience, especially for tourists. And I think it's hugely powerful for that, as well as for people who actually live there and are experiencing and want to try and find the best for when they are living there. So just hats off to you. I think it's something really cool that you're building, and all the best.
Yes, hats off.
Thanks, man. Still one of the things that is really difficult also for shops is to provide the same quality every day, because they just sell what they're getting their hands on also, right? And some shops have it like more have like fix their inventory better, and they can provide constant quality. Some other shops are like this. Sometimes they have super good quality, and then 2 weeks later it's like this. And the reviews people are placing on Greenmeister on that particular shop can also vary from like really good to really bad, and that's quite difficult because there's no, it's very hard for shops to have this constant it's really hard, and that's all made so hard by the law, right? Because they cannot buy it legal. So there's some improvements, but like overall, I'm really glad with the upgoing trend with the whole cannabis industry.
And I think it's true. The tech sort of space as well, using now, I think it's easy to sort of, there's an app for that, we can do that. But I think, again, when you look at what an app can provide and the sort of, the immediacy of that, as everything Jamie just said a minute ago around the experience, about what to expect and making that an easier experience or better experience for the consumer is something that, is universal. And I think, again, coffee shops, dispensaries, whatever we're going to call them, can all benefit from that, can't they? So,
I do think so.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you again soon, for sure.
Thanks. And unfortunately, I'm not going to London for the European cannabis thingy. But maybe I'll see you in Berlin. And
definitely.
That'd be great.
Nice, guys. Thanks.